They didn't change their mind. They just met the version of you they never thought you'd become. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a storm. Lightning is cracking across the sky, winds howling, and everyone's running for shelter. But you're still, calm, focused. You don't flinch, not because you're immune to pain, but because something inside you shifted. You're no longer begging the rain to stop. You've become the kind of man who walks through it like it was part of his training. That, my friends, is the kind of silent transformation no one sees coming until it's too late. See, here's the lie we've all been sold. If you want them back, chase them, text them, explain yourself, prove your worth. But what if I told you that the most powerful shift you'll ever make is the one you don't announce? Most people think healing has to be loud, that you need to show the world your glow-up, that the only way to win after a breakup is to post, to flex, to prove. But nah, that's noise. Real growth doesn't happen under a spotlight. It happens in the shadows, when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, and when no one even believes you can. That's where legends are born. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And folks, that's exactly it. You're not here to convince them of your value. You're here to become it, quietly, consistently, ruthlessly. Because while they're out there thinking you're sitting by the phone, you're in the gym, lifting the weight of your own emotions. While they're posting stories trying to get your attention, you're reading, reflecting, and rising. While they're waiting for a reaction, you're becoming the kind of man they can't reach anymore, not because you blocked them, but because you outgrew them. And let me break another lie for you. They don't miss you when you chase them. They miss you when your absence becomes a mirror, when they realize that the version of you they rejected doesn't even exist anymore. That's when it starts. The late-night thoughts, the what-ifs, the emotional rewind. That's when your silence starts making more noise than all the texts you didn't send. You ever notice how the best meals come from slow cooking, not the microwave? Real change works the same way. Fast fixes fade. But when you disappear into your own growth, you come back with flavor they can't forget. The kind that lingers. The kind they regret losing. And yeah, I know some of you right now are thinking, but what if she never calls? What if they never come back? Let me hit you with this, my friend. That's not your business anymore. Your job isn't to pull them in. It's to pull yourself together, to become so grounded, so purpose-driven, so deeply aligned with your highest self that whether they come back or not, you're already winning. So stay with me. Because this ain't just another breakup talk. This is your wake-up call. Your transformation isn't meant to be seen. It's meant to be felt. And believe me, they will feel it. Not in your words, in your absence, not in your anger, in your peace. Now do me a favor, smash that like button if you're ready to stop proving and start becoming. Hit that subscribe so you never miss the next chapter in your evolution. And in the comments, drop this: quiet growth, loud impact. 3 words. That's your new affirmation. Quiet growth, loud impact. Let's begin. Number 1. They won't see it coming, but they'll feel it when you rise. They laughed when you disappeared, but they'll fall silent when they see what you became in the dark. Let's talk about that part no one prepares you for, the quiet phase, the part where they stop texting, stop calling, stop watching your stories, and suddenly you're left with nothing but silence, no closure, no explanation, just space. And here's the gut punch. They're not even asking how you're doing. That's when doubt creeps in, when the mind starts lying. Maybe I didn't matter. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe they don't care at all. But hold up, my friend. That silence isn't your burial, it's your beginning. This isn't the end of your story. It's the part where the main character vanishes to train in the mountains. This is your origin arc. And you need to understand this. The most powerful growth always happens unseen. Imagine a seed buried in darkness. No one cheers for it, no one checks on it, but deep in that soil, something's cracking open, quietly, slowly. It's breaking just enough to become something greater. A tree doesn't yell while it grows, it just reaches for the sky. And one day, when it breaks the surface, the whole world notices. That's you right now, buried, unnoticed, but not forgotten, not by life, not by the energy around you, and definitely not by them. You see, they don't forget you because you're silent. They remember you because you are. The world taught us the wrong lesson, that love must be loud, that attention must be constant, that presence equals proof. But nah, that's a lie. The human mind doesn't crave what's loud, it obsesses over what's missing. And when your presence was real, when your energy was felt without performance, your absence will echo louder than anything you could ever post. They might not call, but they'll feel you. Every time they reach for their phone but don't dial. Every time they hear a song that used to play in your car. Every time someone new makes them feel nothing while the memory of you still stings. Now here's what might be bouncing around in your head. But what if they really did forget me? What if I'm not even a thought anymore? What if I'm putting in all this work and they never come back? These questions, they're fear-talking, and fear always wants quick answers. But real growth, it doesn't come with guarantees, it comes with gravity. Marcus Aurelius said, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. That means your job isn't to get a reaction. It's to do the work, to stay disciplined, to heal, to rebuild your mind, your body, your soul, even when no one claps, even when no one checks in, especially then. Because here's what they don't expect. You using this silence as fuel. They expected you to fold, to chase, to beg. They thought your worth was tied to their attention, but you flipped the script. You walked into the fire and didn't scream. You took the pain and made it your workout. You took the silence and made it your meditation. And trust me, they feel the shift before they ever see it. You don't have to post your growth. Energy leaks. You walk different. You talk with more certainty. You don't reply fast anymore, not because you're playing games, but because you've got things to do, purpose to pursue, peace to protect. That's the transformation they never saw coming. You're becoming the version of yourself that no longer needs them to recognize you because you recognize yourself. And that energy, it's magnetic, not the flashy kind, not the loud, look at me kind, the kind that makes people wonder. What changed in him? The kind that makes them sit in their room at 2:17 a.m., staring at your old messages, trying to remember who you were, and realizing they don't even know who you are now. And that's the point. You're not supposed to be the same man they walked away from. That version of you is gone, not out of bitterness, out of evolution, out of alignment, because when you finally stop waiting for their validation, something dangerous happens. You start validating yourself. You start living by your own standards. You start chasing your own potential, not their approval. And when they finally look back, because believe me, they will, they won't just see the man they used to know. They'll see someone unreachable, someone who didn't chase, someone who transformed when no one was watching. That's when it hits them, not when you post, not when you flex, when they realize they can't access you anymore. So if you're in that phase right now, the quiet one, the lonely one, the one where you're doubting everything, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You're not being forgotten. You're being forged in silence, in pain, in reflection. That's the fire, that's the weight room, that's the unseen transformation that flips the entire story upside down. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You just need to be real. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to keep building brick by silent brick until the foundation under your feet is so solid, even your own past can't shake it. So, here's your moment. Right now, as you're listening to this, I want you to write it in the comments. They'll feel it when I rise. Type it. Lock it in. Remind yourself and show the world around you. This isn't a phase. This is your rebirth. They won't see it coming, but they will feel it when it arrives. And stay with me, because what's coming next, that's where it gets even deeper. That's where we talk about how your quiet absence becomes the loudest presence in their life. Stay sharp, stay rising, stay legendary. Number 2, disappearance isn't weakness, it's alchemy. They thought you disappeared, but really you just stopped showing up as the version of you they could dismiss. Let's get one thing straight, my friend. Just because they can't see you doesn't mean you're lost, and just because you went quiet doesn't mean you're broken. Disappearing isn't weakness, it's alchemy. It's transformation behind the curtain. And right now, that's exactly what you're doing. You're stepping into a place most people avoid, the place where growth isn't glamorous, where healing doesn't get applause, and where real power is forged in the shadows. Think about it like this. Gold doesn't shine in the dirt. Diamonds don't sparkle when they're still buried. Fire doesn't explode into light without first burning in the dark. And you? You're not vanishing. You're evolving where their eyes can't follow. Let's break a lie right here. The world, social media, pop culture, even some of your so-called friends, they told you that the only way to win is to be seen, to be everywhere, to be loud, public, constant, that if you're not posting, if you're not showing your glow-up, then you're failing. Wrong. That's surface living. That's noise. But what you're doing right now, this silence, this stillness, it's sacred. This is the part where men are made, not when they're on stage, but when they're in solitude, when the phone stops buzzing, when the world goes quiet, when all that's left is your own voice, your own pain, your own reflection. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. That's where the transformation begins. You start asking yourself real questions. Why did I tolerate so much? Why was I chasing someone who couldn't even see me? Why was I depending on their attention to feel alive? Those aren't soft questions. They're knives, but they cut through the illusions, and from that, something raw and real begins to grow. You may feel like you're falling apart, but you're actually falling into place. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That quote, that's your permission to stop basing your worth on their behavior. That's your power to revoke the idea that their silence equals your insignificance. It doesn't, because while you're gone in their world, you're showing up in yours. You're lifting, you're learning, you're leveling up. You're building a life so grounded, so purpose-driven, that even you don't recognize who you're becoming yet. But they will. Oh, they will. Let's talk about what really scares them. It's not your silence. It's your evolution. It's the fact that they no longer get the privilege of your presence, that they don't know what you're thinking anymore, that they're not the center of your emotional world. That's what shakes them, because as long as you were reaching out, chasing, hoping, they felt safe, in control, worshipped. But when you disappear, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, it triggers something deep in them, that loss of access, that mystery. And here's the twist: they'll pretend not to care. They'll act unfazed, but behind that mask, questions, doubts, regret, because nothing is more terrifying than realizing someone who once needed you no longer does. Let me ask you this. Why do you think they start watching your stories again weeks later? Why do their friends suddenly start liking your posts? Why do they pop up out of nowhere with a casual, "Hey, stranger"? That's not random. That's them feeling the energy shift. That's them realizing that while they stood still, you vanished into your own becoming. And don't get it twisted. I'm not saying this to make you bitter. I'm saying it to make you focused. This is your chapter, the one where you stop performing and start preparing, where you stop obsessing over who left and start obsessing over who you're becoming. This is about you reclaiming your timeline, your peace, your path. You don't owe them updates. You don't owe them access. You owe yourself consistency, discipline, direction, because when they do come back, and many of them will, it won't be for who you were. It'll be for who you are now. And by then, you'll be so deep into your own evolution that they'll either have to rise to meet your level or stay behind in the version of the story you already outgrew. It's like this. When the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it disappears. It looks like it died, but inside, complete reconstruction, total rebirth, wings forming. And when it finally breaks free, it doesn't crawl back to the people who doubted it. It flies. It doesn't prove. It becomes. That's what you're doing. So don't be ashamed of your disappearance. Embrace it. This is your alchemy, the part they'll never understand, the part they'll wish they paid more attention to. Let them wonder, let them speculate, let them sit in silence while you build your new frequency. And yes, it's going to feel lonely sometimes. You'll doubt, you'll want to reach out, you'll feel like giving in. But every time you hold the line, every time you stay committed to your growth over your impulses, you get stronger. And every day that passes in silence, you become more rare, more grounded, more powerful. So here's your reminder, my friend. Your disappearance isn't weakness. It's the part of the story where you become someone they'll beg to reconnect with, but can no longer reach without matching your energy. Write this in the comments right now. I'm not gone. I'm evolving. That's your affirmation today. Let them see it. Let them feel it. Let the world around you watch as you step into your unseen transformation. Because what's coming next, that's where your silence turns into their obsession, and we're just getting started. Stay with me, stay focused, stay legendary. Number 3. Why they start feeling the shift before you say a word. They won't admit it, but something about your silence is louder than it used to be. See, folks, this is the part they'll never say out loud, but it's real. The shift happens before the comeback, long before they ever send that, "Hey, how've you been?" text. Before they hit you with the, "I was just thinking about you" out of nowhere. Before they creep back into your stories like ghosts of regret. The shift doesn't begin with their message. It begins with your energy changing without permission, without performance, without explanation, and that's what they start to feel. Now, some of you might ask, but how can they feel something when I haven't even spoken to them? Good question. Let me break it down. We're not just physical beings, we're energy. we're presence, we're frequency. And when your energy used to orbit around someone, they could feel it. They felt your need, your attention, your availability, your emotional investment. It was like a signal tower you were unconsciously broadcasting. I'm still here. I still care. I'm still hoping. But then you stopped. Not with bitterness, not with spite, with clarity, with silence. And when you pulled your energy back, really pulled it back, it didn't go unnoticed. They felt it, not like a slap to the face, but like a slow unraveling. Like heat leaving a room. Like music fading from the background until the silence makes them look up and go, wait, what's missing? That's the thing about real transformation. You don't have to shout it. When your peace grows stronger, when your presence becomes rarer, when your attention is no longer on them but on your mission, they feel it. In subtle ways, in inconvenient moments, in places they didn't expect. It could be during a conversation with someone else, when they suddenly realize they're bored, or when they laugh at something, but it doesn't land the same, or when they scroll through their phone late at night, but your name isn't lighting up anymore. That's when it hits, quietly, slowly, powerfully. Because the truth is, they were never prepared for your silence to feel like this. They thought it would make them feel strong, confident, in control, but it didn't. It made them feel empty, and they don't understand why. Let me give you a metaphor, my friends. Imagine a house with a soft humming sound in the background, maybe a fridge or a heater. You never really notice it until it turns off, and then suddenly the silence becomes loud, uncomfortable. That's you. Your energy was that hum, steady, warm, consistent, maybe even taken for granted, but now it's gone, and that's silence. It's screaming in their ears, even if they pretend not to hear it. But here's where most men fumble. Right when the shift begins, they panic, they doubt, they get impatient. They think, if they're not texting yet, maybe it's not working. Maybe they don't care. Maybe I need to do something to get their attention again. Don't fall for it. That's the old wiring trying to pull you back into the chase. Remember what Seneca said, he who is brave is free, and the brave man doesn't chase validation. He doesn't interrupt a process that's finally starting to work just because it's silent. That's the test. That's the fire. And most can't sit in it long enough to see the result. But you're not most men. You're here because you want to rise without needing to be rescued. You're building a foundation that doesn't crack when they don't respond. You're becoming the man who doesn't flinch in the face of silence, because you know silence is where people hear themselves the loudest. And trust me, they're hearing it now. They're feeling it in places they don't talk about, when they're alone, when their ego sleeps, when they think about who used to be there and realize it's not just your presence they miss. It's the version of themselves they liked better when they were with you. That comfort, that feeling of being seen, that energy you carried without even trying. Now it's gone. And they don't know how to replace it. That's the shift. They might start posting more, acting unbothered, flirting louder, making noise. But all that noise, it's compensation, it's distraction, it's the desperate attempt to silence the voice that keeps whispering, "What if I lost something real?" And here's the beautiful twist. You don't need to do a damn thing. No texting, no explaining, no proving. Your only job is to keep becoming, because when you do, you don't have to convince anyone of your worth. Your evolution starts pulling people into reflection. Your distance becomes the mirror they weren't ready to face. They start asking questions, not because you planted doubts, but because your absence removed the illusions. You ever notice how when you stop trying to be understood, suddenly people want to understand you? That's not a coincidence. That's emotional gravity, and it only activates when you stop forcing and start flowing. Right now, they're feeling the shift, and whether they admit it or not, they're feeling you. The new you, the grounded, focused, silent, disciplined version of you who isn't trying to be seen. He just is. So breathe deep, stay in your silence, keep working in the shadows, because when they do reach out, and they likely will, they won't be coming back to the man they left. They'll be facing the man they never expected you to become. And in that moment, everything changes. So here's your affirmation, my brother. Energy speaks before words do. Type it in the comments right now. Lock it in. Show yourself. Show the world around you. Let this be the reminder that your presence doesn't have to be loud to be legendary. Stay with me, because next we're going deeper into how letting go of the need to prove yourself sets you free and draws them in like nothing else can. Number 4, let go of the need to prove. Let your growth speak. They never really heard you until your silence started speaking louder than your explanations. Let's face it, my friends, most people don't actually listen when you're explaining yourself. They're not hearing your intentions, your pain, your truth. They're just filtering everything you say through their pride, their mood, their ego. And here's the painful truth. The more you try to prove yourself to someone who's already decided they don't see your value, the more invisible you become. That's why today we're flipping the script, because this next level you're stepping into, it doesn't require validation. It doesn't beg for understanding. It doesn't send long texts trying to make things clear. You're done with that. From here on out, your transformation is your voice. Your growth is your message. Your results are your proof. Imagine this. You're in a room full of people and you're trying to tell someone, hey, I've changed. I'm not who I used to be. But they've already tuned you out. They're scrolling their phone, nodding absent-mindedly, not even hearing the truth you're trying to offer. Now imagine instead you walk out of the room, quietly, calmly, and 6 months later you re-enter. You've got a stronger posture, a sharper gaze, clearer energy. You don't even speak, but the room falls silent. That's the difference between talking about change and embodying it. Folks, there's a moment in every man's journey where he has to make a decision. Keep trying to be understood or start becoming undeniable. And the moment you choose the second one, that's when your life changes. Let me tell you why it's so hard for most men to let go of the need to prove. It's because deep down we were taught that if they just understood us better, they'd come back. If they just heard our side of the story, they'd apologize. If we could just explain it right, we'd get closure. But here's the thing, you don't get closure from them. You get it from yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And trying to prove your worth to someone else, that's giving your power to outside events. That's living in reaction, not creation. You've got to step back and ask yourself, am I trying to be understood or am I trying to be aligned? Because those two things are rarely found in the same place. When you stop explaining, you start expanding. Your focus shifts. Instead of wasting energy rewriting history or defending your name, you use that same energy to build, to sharpen, to level up, and something amazing happens. You stop looking for peace from people who never gave it to you in the first place. You see, folks, the real flex isn't telling them you're different. It's being different so consistently, so undeniably, that when your name comes up, even their silence gets heavy. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it, in the way their stomach tightens when they hear about your progress, in the way their friends mention you without warning, in the way they replay your old words and wonder if maybe, just maybe, you were right all along. That's the weight of growth. It hits different when it's not chasing attention. But let me be real, it's not easy, especially if you're someone who used to over-explain, over-justify, overextend. At first, being quiet feels like punishment, like you're giving up. But you're not giving up. You're giving yourself back to yourself. And when that silence is rooted in discipline and direction, it becomes the loudest declaration of all. I no longer need your recognition to feel real. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you finally stop performing for an audience that left the theater a long time ago. You start doing things for your own mirror, not their approval. You get in the gym not to show them what they lost, but to show yourself what you're capable of. You grow your business, not to stunt on anyone, but because your mission deserves more attention than your ego. You learn, you heal, you rise, quietly. And suddenly people start talking again, not because you asked them to, but because they can't ignore the shift anymore. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine they run into you somewhere, months after the silence. You didn't expect it. They didn't either. But there you are. You're not trying to prove anything. You're calm, confident, light in your step, depth in your presence. You ask no questions. You offer no explanations. And in that moment, they feel it, not in what you say, in who you are now. And the crazy part, you weren't even trying to impress them. That's the magic. That's the unseen transformation, doing all the talking for you. That's the shift from proving to being. So don't rush to explain yourself anymore. Don't hand them a map to the new you. Let them get lost in their assumptions. Let them wonder where that old version of you went. Let them sit in silence, trying to figure out when the power dynamic flipped. Because while they were busy expecting the same man, they didn't realize he was already long gone. And look, I get it. There's a part of you that still wants to be heard, that wants to send that one last message, that perfect response, that epic closure speech. But trust me, it won't do what you hope it will. Because the people who didn't value your presence won't suddenly understand your worth through a paragraph, but they will feel it when your life speaks for itself. So, here's your reminder. You have nothing to prove, only someone to become. Write it in the comments right now. My growth is my response. Lock that in. Say it to yourself when the urge to explain comes back. Say it when silence feels heavy. Say it when your name comes up and you're tempted to clear the air. Because you don't need to clear anything, my friend. You're already rising above it. Stay with me, because next we're going even deeper into that haunting moment when your distance becomes their mirror. When they don't just miss you, they miss the version of themselves they lost when you walked away. Let's keep going. Number 5, the mirror moment, when they see themselves in your distance. They thought you were the problem until your distance made them meet the version of themselves they were trying to avoid. This is the part, folks, where the energy gets real. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. Because when you pull back, not out of pettiness, but from peace, it forces something most people run from, a confrontation with themselves. See, your distance isn't just about absence, it's about reflection. You were once a mirror for them, a mirror they looked into every day, and maybe they didn't like everything they saw, but they were comfortable. You were there, available, familiar, easy to reach, and that familiarity, it kept them from looking inward, from questioning their own behaviors, their own wounds, their own patterns. But now the mirror is gone, and that, my friend, is where it starts. They're not texting you, they're not calling, they're keeping up appearances, sure, posting like they've moved on, laughing in selfies, captioning their life with confidence. But somewhere in that silence, something shifts. Because it's not just you they're missing, it's the version of themselves that only existed when they were in your life. Let that sink in. Sometimes your presence made them feel seen, stable, validated. They felt more secure because you were the one anchoring the connection. You were the one initiating, holding space, doing the emotional lifting. But when you stopped showing up to remind them of their worth, their entire emotional structure started to shake. That's the mirror moment, the moment they realize it wasn't just that he cared. I didn't even know who I was without that care. And here's the twist. Most of them won't tell you this, not directly. They might not even understand it fully themselves. But the mind doesn't need conscious permission to feel regret. It just starts playing reruns in the quiet. That last conversation, that moment you chose calm over conflict, that final look, the one that said, "I'm not angry, I'm just done." That's when your distance becomes heavy. It's like walking into a room you've always known, but suddenly all the furniture is gone. The space is the same, but something feels hollow. That's how your absence hits them, not like a scream, but like a missing weight. The quiet ache of something that used to be grounding them, now replaced by echoes. And let's be real, this is when they start reaching. Maybe not with a message, maybe not right away, but with energy, with curiosity, with those little signs you notice, watching your stories, liking something random from weeks ago, asking a mutual friend about you. It's not coincidence. It's not just being nice. It's their way of peeking into the mirror again, without having to stand in it fully. But here's where it gets powerful. When they look into that mirror now, they don't just see you, they see the version of themselves that couldn't hold you. And that is uncomfortable. It's easy to blame someone when they're chasing you. It's easy to roll your eyes when they're explaining themselves. But when they disappear without a grudge, when they go silent and focused, building quietly, loving themselves loudly, living in peace without reaching back. Now they have to sit with it, sit with what they said, sit with what they chose, sit with the fact that the man they thought would never leave did, not out of revenge, but out of evolution. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." And maybe that's what your absence does for them. Maybe it wakes them up, not just to what they lost, but to how they lived. Because when someone finally sits with themselves, without your presence to absorb their pain, they begin to notice the cracks, the patterns, the insecurities, the projections, all the things that were hiding behind you. Your consistency, your love, your loyalty. You were the emotional shield, and now that it's gone, their inner chaos has nowhere to hide. That's why distance is such a powerful mirror. It doesn't just reflect loss, it reflects truth. Now, let me say this. This isn't about being cold. It's not about punishing anyone. You're not pulling back to make them suffer. You're pulling back to stop betraying yourself. And that's the kind of boundary that heals, not wounds. the man you're becoming, the one who doesn't need to argue his worth, the one who doesn't have to beg to be seen. That man doesn't chase mirrors. He builds foundations. He creates a life so full that even if someone does come back, he no longer needs their reflection to feel whole. That's the real power shift, because while they're just now starting to feel the absence, you're already feeling yourself. You're already gaining clarity. You're already learning what you need, what you value, what you'll never accept again. And that inner knowing, that's what makes your silence feel different now. It's not empty, it's anchored. So if you're in that phase right now, where the calls have stopped, where the energy feels distant, where you're wondering if they even care, listen closely. They're not just thinking about you, they're facing themselves. And your distance is the reason why. Let them sit with the silence. Let them look in the mirror. Let them feel what it's like to live without your grounding presence. You've already done the emotional labor. You've already tried to be seen. This part of the journey, it belongs to them. You don't have to wait. You don't have to check in. You don't have to watch their reactions. You just have to keep becoming, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. So here's your affirmation today. My distance reflects truth. Write it in the comments. Lock it in. Let it remind you that your growth is not a punishment. It's a mirror. And not everyone is ready for what it shows them. And stay with me, because what's coming next? That's when we talk about how silence and space start tipping the emotional balance, flipping the script in ways they never expected. The law of reversal is real, and it's coming. Number 6, the law of reversal. When you pull back, they lean in. They only start leaning in when your silence shows them what your words never could. Your peace never needed their permission. There's a strange shift that happens, my friends, subtle at first, invisible to the untrained eye, but undeniable once it begins. It's a shift of energy, of power, of emotional weight. The very moment you stop reaching, stop explaining, stop holding on, they start feeling the absence, and suddenly everything flips. Welcome to the law of reversal. See, we're taught to believe that more effort equals more results, that if you just care harder, try harder, love harder, they'll see your value. But relationships don't work like algebra, they work like gravity. The more you chase, the more you push the other person into retreat, not because you're not valuable, but because your energy is screaming, I need you to validate me. And people feel that. They feel when you're handing them power you should have kept. They feel when you're prioritizing their attention over your own alignment. And that's not attractive. That's not magnetic. That's dependency, dressed up in devotion. But the second you stop, the moment you step back, not with bitterness, but with calm, steady silence, that's when the shift begins. That's when the emotional pendulum starts swinging the other way. Because when you pull back, you create space. And space creates curiosity. Curiosity stirs memory. Memory births reflection. And reflection, that's where desire is reborn. Let me give you a metaphor. Picture an elastic band stretched between two people. You've been pulling, holding tension, trying to keep it connected. But the more you pull, the more resistance builds. The tighter the tension, the more uncomfortable it feels. Until one day you let go. Not violently, not angrily. Just release. And what happens? The other end snaps back. That's the reversal. And the truth is, they don't expect it. They don't expect you to stop showing up. They don't expect you to stop texting, calling, checking, reacting. They've gotten used to being the center of your emotional gravity. Your attention was a given, a habit, a comfort, so when it vanishes, now they're the one stuck in the loop, the one scrolling, replaying, wondering. You've flipped the script without saying a word, and that silence, it speaks in frequencies they didn't know you had. It tells them, I no longer need to perform to be valued. I no longer chase what runs from me. I've made peace with the outcome, and in that peace, I've found power. Seneca once said, it is the power of the mind to be unconquerable, and nothing proves that more than your ability to pull back with grace, not games. Because, folks, let's be real, this ain't about playing hard to get. This isn't about manipulation. This is about recognizing that your energy is sacred, that not everyone deserves the front row seat to your becoming. That sometimes the greatest act of strength is removing access and letting the silence do what your words never could. And yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. You'll question yourself. You'll feel the pull to reach out, to break the tension, to smooth it over. But don't. That tension, that discomfort, that's the emotional space where growth lives, for you and for them. Let them feel the loss. Let them taste the silence. Let them remember the version of you they didn't appreciate until it was gone. Because when the law of reversal kicks in, it doesn't just bring them back, it humbles them. Suddenly, your calm becomes intimidating. Your peace becomes mysterious. Your distance becomes magnetic. And your detachment, that becomes the anchor. And guess what? Now they're checking your page. Now they're asking mutual friends about you. Now they're wondering, what happened? Why did he change? Is he over me? Yes, that's the power shift. But here's the catch. This only works when it's real. When your pullback isn't a tactic, but a transformation. When you're not just pretending to move on, but actually doing it. When your silence is filled with purpose, not passive aggression. That's when your energy becomes unforgettable. Because people can sense the difference. They know when you're faking it. But when you've truly let go, when your peace isn't performance, it hits them different. It lingers. It follows them in the quiet hours, in the middle of the night, in the moments they don't expect. And that silence, it grows heavier with time. Because the law of reversal doesn't just work once, it compounds. Each day you don't reach out, the value of your absence increases. Each day you remain calm, their inner storm builds. Each day you stay in your lane, their mind drifts into yours. It's not magic, it's psychology, it's momentum, it's energy correcting itself. But here's the key, my friend. You don't do this for them. You don't pull back to get them to chase. You pull back because you've remembered who you are. You've remembered that love shouldn't cost you your self-respect, that affection shouldn't come at the price of your peace. That attention isn't worth chasing if it's not freely given. So let them lean in. Let them wonder. Let the law of reversal do its quiet work. And while they're over there trying to decode the shift, you stay rooted. You stay rising. You stay legendary. Because once you've built a life that doesn't need their reaction to feel valuable, you've already won. So here's your affirmation for today. My silence resets the energy. Write it in the comments. Let it anchor your next move. Let it remind you that power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's still. But it's always, always felt. And stay close, because next we go even deeper into how detachment isn't rejection. It's elevation. When you stop reacting and start reclaiming, everything changes. Let's keep going. Number 7. Detachment is the most powerful signal you'll ever send. They didn't hear you when you spoke, but your silence. That's the part they'll never forget. Let's talk about the energy they never see coming. Detachment. Not bitterness, not coldness, not giving up. Detachment. That calm, grounded, untouchable energy that doesn't need to beg, doesn't explain, doesn't chase, because it knows its worth without external proof. My friends, let me say something that might sting a little. You weren't ignored because you weren't enough. You were ignored because you were too available. And in a world where scarcity creates value, your constant presence became background noise. Think about it. The song that plays every day fades into the atmosphere. The scent you always wear, they stop noticing it. The text you always send, they read it without feeling it. But the moment you go silent, the moment you detach, everything changes. Suddenly, the silence is loud. Your absence becomes a presence. Your name echoes in their mind, not because you reminded them, but because you stopped trying to. Detachment isn't walking away angry, it's walking away aligned. It's you choosing you, not in a selfish way, but in a sacred way. Because here's the truth, no one teaches us growing up. You don't prove love by holding on. You prove self-worth by letting go when you're no longer being met. You see, real detachment is not about indifference. It's about clarity. It's about saying, I love you, but I refuse to abandon myself for you. It's the kind of energy that's peaceful, not petty, strong, not stubborn, silent, but deeply felt. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what detachment gives you, your power back. Because when you're attached, your peace is dependent on someone else's reaction. One text can ruin your whole day. One ignored message sends your brain spiraling. One change in tone makes you question everything. But when you're detached, you're free. Free from overthinking, free from proving, free from begging, free from performing. You're no longer living in reaction, you're living in creation. You're no longer checking your phone every hour. You're building, you're training, you're focusing. And they feel that even in your absence. You become a storm they can't predict anymore. A frequency they can't tune into on demand. A mystery that makes them pause and whisper, "What happened to him?" They might not show it. They might not say it. But behind the ego, behind the pride, they're feeling every ounce of the space you've created. Because when you detach, they're no longer in control of the emotional script. They can't guilt you, can't bait you, can't pull your strings. And that's when curiosity kicks in, when the tables start to turn, when they finally realize they don't know who they're dealing with anymore. You're not predictable. You're not needy. You're not the same. You've entered a new phase, unreachable energy, the kind that doesn't announce itself but gets noticed anyway, the kind that doesn't flex but makes people look, the kind that doesn't chase because it attracts, naturally, powerfully, quietly. And the most beautiful part, you don't even need them to notice. You're not detaching to win them back. You're detaching to win yourself back. This is for you, your peace, your sanity, your evolution. You're no longer playing emotional ping-pong with someone who couldn't hold your heart with care. You're not waking up every day hoping they get it. You're waking up and making sure you get it. And the more you do that, the more you reclaim your energy, your time, your purpose, the more they'll feel the shift, the reversal, the silence that isn't hollow, but holy. They'll start wondering, why isn't he reacting? Why doesn't he care anymore? Who is he becoming? And the answer is simple. You're becoming the man you were always meant to be, the one who no longer bends to be chosen, the one who doesn't perform to be kept, the one who doesn't have to say a thing because his energy speaks volumes. So if you're in that place right now, sitting in silence, watching your phone stay quiet, wondering if you made the right choice by letting go, I'm here to tell you, yes, you did. You're not giving up. You're growing up. You're choosing alignment over attention, depth over drama, peace over performance. And the ones who couldn't see your worth before, they'll see it now, in the distance, in the silence, in the man who no longer needs to explain who he is, because who he is can only be felt now, not accessed. This is the part where you stop being the option and become the lesson. The one that lingers, the one that haunts, the one they look back on and whisper, he didn't even argue, he just evolved. So here's your final affirmation, right now. My peace is louder than their attention. Type it in the comments, lock it in. Show yourself, show the world around you, because this is where you stop chasing and start commanding, not with words, with presence, with silence, with undeniable energy. And if this spoke to something inside you, if it reminded you of your power, if it pulled you out of that spiral even a little, then do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with a brother who needs to remember who the hell he is, because you don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You don't have to chase to be wanted. You don't have to prove to be powerful. Your detachment, that's your message, that's your legacy, that's your comeback, and it starts now. Stay detached, stay solid, stay legendary.